Toxoplasma gondii. Toxoplasma gondii has a strong association with cats. Here we can see a photograph of a cat because cat is a definitive host. Cat is the definitive host in case of Toxoplasma gondii, and cat feces is the main source of infection in case of Toxoplasma gondii. Toxoplasma gondii is an obligate intracellular parasite which causes toxoplasmosis in humans. It is the only protozoan whose all the stages are infectious for human beings. It got its name Toxoplasma from toxon is equal to arc and plasma is equal to form due to the crescent shape of its tachyzoids. The tachyzoids of Toxoplasma are crescent shaped, and from this it got its name Toxoplasma. Habitat of Toxoplasma: it is an obligate intracellular parasite found inside the reticuloendothelial cells and other nucleated cells of the host. Morphology: there are three morphological forms: tachyzoids, tissue cyst, and oocyst. And all the three morphological forms are diagnostic forms. All the three morphological forms are infectious to human beings. Here you can see a diagram which shows the internal structure of Toxoplasma gondii: nucleus, mitochondria, epicoplast, microtubules, endoplasmic reticulum, plasma membrane, etc. The three morphological forms: tachyzoids, tissue cyst, and oocyst. First, the tachyzoids. The tachyzoids are active and multiplying morphological forms seen during the acute stage of infection. They can be found in any organ, but they are especially found in skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and brain. They can invade all types of mammalian cells. You can see here the photograph which shows Toxoplasma gondii tropozoids. They are crescent shaped, and once inside the cell they multiply by endodiogeny, crescentic or oval with one end rounded and the other end pointed or tapering. 4 to 8 micrometer to 2 to 3 micrometers. The nucleus is ovoid and placed near the blunt end. The next morphological form is the tissue cyst. The tissue cyst can be as big as 10 to 100 micrometers in diameter. It is a resting form found during chronic stage of infection. It is extremely resistant to host defenses. It is found in any organ, most commonly in the skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and brain. The tissue cysts are spherical, 40 to 50 micrometer on an average. They contain hundreds of strongly pus-positive, slowly growing tropozoids known as bradyzoids. Bradyzoids are smaller than tachyzoids and they multiply by endodiogeny. Bradyzoids are known as bradyzoids because brady means slow. So slowly multiplying forms are bradyzoids, and tachy means fast. But the fast multiplying forms are the tachyzoids. Here in this photograph you can see tissue cyst of Toxoplasma gondii filled with bradyzoids. The tissue cysts occur more commonly in the skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and the brain. The third morphological form is the oocyst, which is found only in the cats and other felines. The oocyst is oval in shape, about 10 to 12 micrometers diameter, non-infectious when excreted. It undergoes sporulation in the environment with formation of two sporocysts, each containing 4 sporozoids. Here we can see a diagram of the oocyst. The oocyst contains 2 sporocysts, and each of the 2 sporocysts contains 4 sporozoids. Can we grow Toxoplasma gondii? Yes, it can be grown in normal murine alveolar and peripheral macrophage cell lines. It can be grown in experimental animals like mice, hamsters, and rabbit. In life cycle, there are 2 life cycles: the sexual life cycle and the asexual life cycle. The definitive hosts are cat, in which the sexual cycle takes place, and the intermediate hosts are humans and other mammals, in which the asexual cycle takes place. In the asexual cycle, man and other hosts can acquire the oocyst by ingestion of water and food contaminated with infectious sporulating oocyst or tissue cyst. Sporozoids from the oocyst and bradyzoids from the tissue cyst invade the intestinal mucosa. Means man can acquire the tissue cyst also when he consumes meat of other animals, and he can acquire tachyzoids also. In epithelial cells, they multiply as tachyzoids by endodiogeny. The morphological form, that is the sporozoites and the bradyzoids, the tachyzoids, they spread to mesenteric lymph nodes. They invade extraintestinal organs like liver, spleen, heart, muscles, placenta. They will lead to focal areas of necrosis in intestinal and extraintestinal sites. The sporozoites convert to tachyzoids, and the bradyzoids are there in the tissue cyst. These morphological forms will invade the intestine and other organs of the body. By about 30 weeks of infection, the tachyzoids are destroyed and the infection resolves. Some tachyzoids might persist and they will continue to grow as tissue cysts in the brain, heart muscles, and skeletal muscles. Tissue cysts which contain hundreds of bradyzoids remain viable for years, thus retaining their potential for reactivation. So for several years the infection may remain latent, and after some years when the immunity is compromised, the tissue cyst might activate and give rise to infection again. Immunosuppression of the host causes reactivation. Human is the dead-end host. The sexual cycle takes place in cats and other felines. Cat eats infected mouse. Small intestine of cat में वो morphological forms जाएंगे, tachyzoids and tissue cyst. Several asexual cycles will take place, and occasionally sexual cycles will take place, from which zygote will be formed, from which oocyst will be formed. The oocysts are passed in phases, and in the environment when they go, they undergo sporogony. They become infective oocysts, and these infective oocysts can be transmitted to man. This shows the life cycle in diagram form. Cat are the definitive host, and oocysts passed in the cat are unsporulating oocysts. They undergo sporulation in the environment, and these sporulating oocysts are infectious to man and other mammals. Once man ingests these oocysts, man can also ingest the tachyzoids, man can also ingest the tissue cyst, and once they enter man is a dead-end host, and it does not move ahead from human beings. Pathogenesis and pathology. In acute infection, tachyzoids proliferate in intestine and extraintestinal sites, leading to disruption and cell death and necrotic foci. In immunodeficient hosts, potentially lethal conditions like acute necrotizing encephalitis, pneumonitis, and myocarditis may occur. Cysts are formed gradually. The cyst may contain 50 to 3,000 bradyzoids. Cysts are present in the chronic stage. They are produced in the active stage after some time, and they will persist for many years in the host, and reactivation of the cyst in the immunocompromised will give rise to chorioretinitis. Both humoral and cell-mediated immunity are developed. IgM, IgA, IgG all will be produced. IgM is produced after 1 week, and it is an indicator of acute infection. It may last for several months. IgA is also produced, but it lasts for more than a year. So IgA cannot be taken as an indicator of acute infection. IgG is produced later on, and it is detectable for life. CMI has an important role in conferring resistance to reinfection as well as in developing initial resistance. In the immunocompetent host, infection resolves, tachyzoids disappear, tissue cysts are formed, and the tissue cyst might remain latent for lifelong if the person's immunity does not go down. But in the immunocompromised, as the immunity is low, the infection may progress to severe stages. What happens in congenital toxoplasmosis? Congenital toxoplasmosis, in which mother-to-child transmission takes place, monoclonal gammopathy of IgG is there. There occurs glomerulonephritis with deposits of IgM, fibrinogen, and toxoplasma antigen. Circulating immune complexes are found in the serum, and IgA is decreased, and anti-toxoplasma IgM antibodies can be seen in congenitally infected children. In acquired toxoplasmosis, patients with lymphadenopathy and fever, suppressor T cells are increased, helper to suppressor T cell ratio is decreased. In some patients with lymphadenopathy, the helper T cell number is reduced for more than 6 months, and in patients with AIDS, the T lymphocyte counts are markedly reduced. In clinical features, congenital toxoplasmosis and acquired toxoplasmosis both will have different clinical presentations. In congenital toxoplasmosis, the mother when she becomes infected during the first trimester of pregnancy, the risk of transmission to the child is maximum. Transplacental transmission can take place in the first trimester, giving rise to severe disease in the child. It may even lead to abortion and stillbirth. But if the mother acquires infection during the third trimester, then the infection is mild and some children might even be asymptomatic. So infection, if the mother acquires during the first trimester of pregnancy, then it will have very serious consequences on the child. But if the mother acquires infection during the third trimester, the symptoms are very mild. Retinochoroiditis, cerebral calcification and convulsions are classical clinical triads of congenital toxoplasmosis. Retinochoroiditis, cerebral calcification and convulsions. These are the classical clinical triads of congenital toxoplasmosis. Retinochoroiditis is the most common among them. It occurs in about 75 to 80% of cases. It can also lead to microcephaly, hydrocephalus, organomegaly and mental retardation. It may even lead to anemia, thrombocytopenia and jaundice. But the good news is that if the mother was infected before pregnancy, then the child will not have any problems. And also if the mother is going through the chronic stage of the infection, then also the child will not have any problem. So the major problem here is only when the mother acquires infection during the first trimester of pregnancy. That is the most dangerous time for the child. Out of pregnant women suffering from infection, only about 10 to 20% may show clinical signs, main being lymphadenopathy. In acquired toxoplasmosis, the immunocompetent and immunocompromised will show different presentations. In the immunocompetent, it will be benign and self-limiting, and in immunodeficient, the infection will be severe and life-threatening. In the immunocompetent, the infection is mostly asymptomatic. Only 10 to 20% of patients will show symptoms. Lymphadenopathy is the classical clinical sign in case of acquired toxoplasmosis in immunocompetent people. Lymphadenopathy. Cervical lymphadenopathy is the most common. Less commonly, supraclavicular, suboccipital, axillary and inguinal lymph nodes may be involved. The lymph nodes are discrete, non-tender and may vary in firmness. Sore throat, fever, malaise, night sweats and myalgia occur. Maculopapular skin rash that does not affect the palms and soles may occur. Ocular manifestations like retinochoroiditis may occur in 10% of patients. In non-AIDS immunocompromised patients, what is the presentation? In non-AIDS immunocompromised patients receiving immunosuppressive therapy for malignancies and patients receiving organ transplant, the CNS is affected in about 50% of patients. Encephalitis, meningoencephalitis or space-occupying lesions will occur. Hemiparesis, seizures, mental status changes and visual changes may occur. Myocarditis and pneumonitis may occur. In AIDS patient, what happens? In AIDS patients, toxoplasmic encephalitis may occur. Altered mental state, seizures, sensory abnormalities, cerebellar signs, meningismus and neuropsychiatric manifestations occur. Lung is the most common organ affected in AIDS patients. Pulmonary toxoplasmosis in patients with CD4 count less than 50 cells per mm3. Pneumonitis with prolonged febrile illness, cough and dyspnea. What happens in ocular toxoplasmosis? In ocular toxoplasmosis, focal necrotizing retinochoroiditis may occur, which is the hallmark of this infection. Focal necrotizing retinochoroiditis is a hallmark of ocular toxoplasmosis. Majority cases occur as a result of congenital toxoplasmosis. Retinochoroiditis usually is unilateral in case of acquired toxoplasmosis, but it is bilateral in case of congenital toxoplasmosis. There can be blurred vision, photophobia, pain and scotoma. Other manifestations. Recent studies have shown that toxoplasmosis is associated with brain cancer as well as possible psychiatric disorders like attention deficit hyperactive disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, anxiety and schizophrenia. Epidemiology. There are three kinds of transmission in case of toxoplasmosis: foodborne transmission, zoonotic transmission, and congenital transmission. Mother to child by consumption of food and water, and zoonotic transmission. It is one of the most common human parasites in the world and most common cause of ocular inflammation in the world. Worldwide, about 500 million human beings are seropositive for toxoplasma antibodies. In India, both vegetarian and non-vegetarian population are affected. What are the reservoirs, source and transmission of Toxoplasma gondii? The domestic cats are the key reservoirs. They shed millions of oocysts in their feces. Cat feces is the chief source of infection. Congenital infection is the only form of human to human transmission. No other form of human to human transmission, only congenital. Acquired infection is transmitted by the following ways: ingestion of tissue cyst present in the raw or undercooked beef, lamb, or pork, ingestion of soil, water, milk, vegetables contaminated with cat feces, contaminated blood transfusion, transplantation of infected organs, accidental inoculation in the laboratory. These are various routes of transmission of toxoplasmosis. In lab diagnosis, demonstration of tracheozoids in blood, body fluids, or tissue specimen denotes acute infection. Demonstration of tissue cyst is an indicator of chronic infection. In HIV and other immunocompromised patients, tracheozoids can also be demonstrated in bronchoalveolar lavage. Tracheozoids are typically comma-shaped. The tissue cyst may be demonstrated in acute and chronic infections both. Various stains can be used for staining Toxoplasma gondii: crescent-shaped parasite, Wright's stain, Giemsa stain, periodic acid stain, Gomorrhe's methenamine silver stain, hematoxylin eosin stain, immunoperoxidase stain, and fluorescein conjugated antibody stains can be used. Animal inoculation can be done, intraperitoneal inoculation in mice. Tissue culture can be used. Antibody detection can be done for toxoplasma diagnosis: IgM, IgA, and IgG. Methods for diagnosis of antibodies include ELISA, immunofluorescence test, indirect hemagglutination test, direct agglutination test, and latex agglutination test. Sabine-Feldman dye test is a test which detects circulating antibodies in toxoplasmosis, but it is a difficult test. It is used only in the reference laboratories. It is highly sensitive and specific, but main disadvantage of this test is that it requires live tracheozoids. Sabine-Feldman dye test for toxoplasmosis. In AIDS patients, serodiagnosis of demonstration of antibodies is not useful as antibodies are produced irregularly and not in proper quantities. Detection of antigens can also be done for diagnosis of toxoplasmosis. ELISA is employed to detect circulating toxoplasma antigens in serum, vitreous or aqueous fluid, or amniotic fluid. Very useful in patients with AIDS and other immunocompromised patients. Detection of antigen in amniotic fluid is useful in the diagnosis of congenital toxoplasmosis, and detection of antigen in the aqueous humor useful in the diagnosis of chorioretinitis. Molecular methods like PCR can be used. Imaging methods, USG, CT scan, MRI can be used. In CT scan, multiple ring enhancing lesions are seen in about 70 to 80% of patients. In treatment, pyrimethamine, sulfadiazine, clindamycin, atovaquone, azithromycin. And in prevention, avoidance of contact with cat feces containing oocysts, eating properly cooked meat. And that finishes Toxoplasma gondii, which definitive host is cat, man is intermediate host, and man is a dead end host. Toxoplasma can also be transmitted congenitally. Thank you.